So what I found, the best way to get this tile out of here, it's wedged in there because it's got this grout line in here, right? In between it and this other little tiny tile sliver. So I'm working it with my tool here. I'm kind of chipping away at it in that joint right there. Kind of just going at it. And I'm kind of breaking it loose. Okay, every time I do that, I'm breaking it a little bit more loose from this tile so that I can, because I'll have to get that one out as well too. And actually, if you can see, I got the grout off the top of that one too, so we're getting there. Okay, so what really helped me here was, you know, getting that grout line out of there, and then I got my screwdriver in here and kind of wedged it underneath, kind of cleaned out this gap down here and got underneath this tile. And when I did that, I was able to, yeah, lift that guy out of there. So that one is the broken one, so you need to be careful of sharp edges there, but I got that one out now. So now all I've got is a little tiny tile sliver right there that I need to get out. And it looks like it has broken loose. And we've got a lot of crap in there in this seam that needs to be cleaned out. And I'm also, again, I've got grout. Don't know why, but they put grout under the under there. Why would they do that? I don't know, to make things complicated, I guess. So now I need to dig that out, break it out. I don't know, this doesn't look like it was cut exactly level either. It looks like they kind of went at it at an angle. I don't know if you can see that. This piece of wood, this trim piece was not cut equally. So I found a scrap piece of baseboard from another project in the garage because I wanted to kind of see height wise. And this is going to be up against the drywall, so I need to make sure you know, my width here is going to be enough to cover that gap. What I need to do is remove this lip that's on this plank so I can see how it fits up against here. I cut off that first lip on the first plank for my first row, and actually it cuts really nice with just a utility knife, but this is gonna look just fine. It's flush up against the bathtub, and it also is going to, my baseboard width is gonna hide everything all along, even into the corner. We're gonna be just fine. It's gonna hide the gap. So we're gonna be good there. So that's good news. So I do need to undercut that trim piece right there, the door trim piece. I'm gonna undercut that with a saw so that this piece will slip under it, and that'll look really nice. Okay, so I found my undercut saw. It's a DeWalt, it's just a handheld saw that you use. And, you know, you can, it changes. I'll show you the blade switches so you can switch sides. Basically what I did is I took one of these vinyl planks and I put it the face side down on the tile so I could get the height of where I need to cut, but I didn't want to scratch up the face of the plank, so I turned it over so that I am rubbing the saw against the back side, okay? So basically what you do is that's how you get, you know, the height that you need, and you just work your way back and forth, and you know, you can see that it saws through that so that we'll be able to slip the piece of vinyl plank under it once the cut is complete. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this cut, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I finished the cut, and as you can see, once you get that done, the plank just slips right under there, and it's nice and flush. Basically, all the way along here, that looks pretty good. So far, that's how we're looking. And then once we put, you know, a baseboard in there, that's how it's gonna look. And of course, the you know, my trim over here is gonna be painted. It won't be all scuffed up. It'll look nice, and that is gonna work nicely. That's gonna look really nice when it's all done. So now I've got the first row started. As you can see, I was able to notch. I thought I was gonna have to take the door off, but I was able to just cut and notch that really nicely. And it's gonna end right where it needs to end on the threshold. So on the other side of the door, it looks like that. And clearly we're gonna have a baseboard that goes all across there to cover all that up. But it looks pretty nice along there. So now the task that is before me is I have to get in this small space between the toilet and the wall so that I can get those 3 tiles off the baseboard area. There's another one under there, or right behind the toilet. That's gonna be hard to get to as well, right there by the shutoff. But I'm gonna work on those first 3 because once I get the first 3 out, then I'll be able to fit my next plank in. It will have to be trimmed though, because as you can see, the planks are a little longer than the space that I'm gonna have to fit it in. So I will have to trim that with a saw. Okay, so I was able to get those 3 tiles in this tight space. It was kind of tough, but I was able to get those off. So it looks to me like they left a giant gap. First of all, it looks like they used some, you know, spackle to, you know, there's just some work I'm gonna have to do. There's some work I'm gonna have to do with this in order to be able to attach my my baseboard here, because there's like a giant gap here. When they tiled, they left, you are supposed to leave a gap, but there's a huge gap, and then they put a grout line and then the tile. So there's a huge gap there that I gotta fill, and I'm not sure, that first baseboard scrap that I was using, it might not work, because I might need to get one that's a little bit wider to cover that gap. So I got that all cleaned up, and I swept to kind of get all the debris out of there. The only issue is I still have like this edge right here of so this grout line is high, it's sticking up, so my plank is not going to be able to slide up against here flush. That is going to be in the way, and my baseboard wouldn't sit just right on here. So I'm gonna have to break up this grout line right here all along here and clean that up so it's level. Okay, so I finished my first row. Yay, that is the hardest, and they are not kidding. Honestly, The first row, I think, is the toughest. Once you get that down, it's probably off to the races. So I was able to cut this plank. This last one is a little bit shorter than what comes in the box. I did have to cut off a little section, a small piece. And my baseboard is going to be fine on that end. You do need to leave a 1/4 inch gap in between the wall and the end of your board. So this is going to be okay. Let's see, yeah. So this is probably going to be a problem because I don't know. When that baseboard is up against there's going to be a tiny gap. It's small, but right there in the corner. Is it bigger here? Oh, you know, it's not as big there, but it's still there. And as you move along here, the gap goes away. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to use a wider baseboard. Just because they left such a gap. That's a giant gap. I know why they did it. It's because this is in the way, and instead of cutting tiles to fit in that space, that's only a 1/4 inch away from the wall, they didn't want to do that. So they just went with a straight full tile along here to avoid that. But it leaves a giant gap there that I have to try and fill. So I'm working over here trying to remove these tiles. I actually was able, try not to move this too much to make you sick. I was able to get behind the toilet here and get these tiles. I'm kind of stuck on this one. I'll tell you why in a second. This one was a little difficult to get over here behind the water supply, just because I had to get my, I was trying to get my painter's tool in there, because this works great to get in there and break these. When I got over here to this one, I got a problem because the whole way that this tool works is I get in there, I hit it with my hammer here, and then I'm able to pry the tile away from the drywall. Well, the problem I have right here is it's going right through the drywall. Look at that. I mean, so I don't know what's going on there. It feels like there's no drywall there. So I don't even know how they attached this tile. So what I'm going to do is go use the scoring side of this, the pointy tip, to kind of score along the next one. Outline on the next one. Okay, just to make sure I get it scored well. Or I can remove it. Oop. Right there still, I'm going through the drywall. I mean, I don't think there's any drywall there, so I'm not sure what's happening behind this tile. Okay, so I think I got that scored pretty good. So now I'm gonna try to, I can't hold the camera and do this at the same time. I basically pulled my painter's tool forward, and as I do that, it goes into the wall. It goes into the wall. There's nothing there. So I don't know. Maybe when they put this piece of drywall in, they didn't go all the way. I don't know why they wouldn't have gone all the way down. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm moving the camera a lot. I'm not sure what's going on here. So I'm gonna just try to get these last few tiles off. I got one there and one there, and that one's already off. So let me try to get these off, and then we'll see what we're looking at. Okay, I was able to get those tiles off. I don't know what's going on right here. There's not much. Sorry, moving the camera. This is kind of a tight space. It's right beside the toilet. But this, There's not much there. There's a gap, right? It almost looks like they didn't take the drywall all the way down to the floor. They left a big gap, maybe because they knew they were going to tile up to the bottom of that drywall. That's really weird. I've never seen anybody do that before. Is this really the end of the drywall? I don't know. But either way, I don't know if I'll be able to attach a baseboard to that. Maybe as long as it's a long piece and I'm attaching it on either side, it might not be a problem. But either way, I might have to fill that in a little bit because there's a hole. I can see in there. It's a hole. So now I've got the first row done. But unfortunately, I can't do much until I pull the toilet, because my next row is going to go under the toilet. Now, you don't have to pull the toilet. Sometimes people will cut the LVP around the toilet, but I think it looks better to pull the toilet. Remove it, put your plank underneath, and just leave an opening for your toilet flange. So, and Sadie's barking again. Yay. But anyway, this is what it looks like. It looks pretty darn good so far. And I will show you how to pull that toilet. This is what I'm going to use to set the toilet after we're all done pulling it. When we put it back, we have to have a new wax ring, and it's nice to have the bolts just because, you know, everything down there is kind of gross, and well, you can't reuse the bolts that are there now. And well, I suppose you probably could, but yeah, I think it's a good idea to have new bolts. So I always get the extra thick one rather than the standard size. I don't know, you probably could use the standard size, but I prefer the extra thick one because I know there's a little extra wax down there to create a barrier, a tight seal. So this is just what I use. So to pull the toilet, because at this point I pretty much have to, if you can see my first row there, my next row is going to go under the toilet. So the toilet's already in my way before I get to the second row. So to do that, it's not that hard, but you do want to kind of get everything out of your way. You want to have a space to sit the toilet once you pull it off its resting place there. And I would recommend putting some cardboard, you know, an old towel, something that you're going to throw away when you're done, on the floor next to you, close by, so that you can set that heavy toilet on it once you pull it from that location. Now, it is pretty heavy, so just, you don't have to remove the tank to do this. I usually don't. I just leave it in place, but you can, you know, just different ways to do it. First thing you're going to want to do is, before you pull it, is you're going to get down here and turn off the water supply. So we need to turn it to the right until it stops. And that tells you the water is shut off to, you know, the tank. So once you get that done, that's the first step. Then you're going to flush, because you want to get all of the water out of the tank so there's nothing left, because when you move this, water will spill everywhere if you don't do this. So, you know, after you flush, then you're going to want to take the tank lid off. I'm going to move that. Get your tank lid out of the way because you don't want to break that. Those can be expensive to replace, and they're very heavy. So now you can see we've got just a little tiny bit of water left in there, and you're not going to be able to get that out by flushing. It's interesting how this is, I don't know why it's like that. I don't know that the previous owners left it like that. I don't know. But either way, I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to leave it as is. There's probably a reason it's that way. But there's a little tiny bit of water left in there. You need to get that out because when you move the toilet, well, it's going to make the toilet lighter to move and all that. Just a good idea to get that out of there. I use a sponge and a bucket to sop that out of there. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, now you're going to use, once you get all the water out of the tank, you're going to use some type of straight edge, which I'm just going to use my painter's tool. It works well. I went out to look for my screwdrivers and I couldn't find, and that pops off really easy. Just get under the edge and it comes off. That's just a cover, a plastic cover. This is the bolt that actually holds the toilet to the floor that we have to get loose. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Pop that baby off. You'll want to just get these out of the way because you're going to get, this will be like a little messy area and you just don't want to get those dirtier than they need to be. Okay, so I'm going to take my 7/16 wrench and we're going to loosen this nut. And it's not very tight, so it comes off pretty well, pretty easily. Okay, so when you get that off, then there's a washer. And then you've got this white thingamabopper. Man, usually a whole bunch of wax is spewing through here. At least when I've done this before, and I don't see that, so hope that's not a problem. And then this is the 1/2-inch bolt that's actually holding the toilet to the floor. So that one stays because it's attached to the toilet flange. And since we got those things off, we're going to get them out of our way and we're going to lift the toilet straight up over this bolt. And then in this case, I have to move backwards because this is a really small space. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side to remove these bolts. So now you're going to want to unscrew this water supply valve from the bottom of the tank. And to do that, you're gonna, it's just plastic, but it's sometimes hard to break loose, but you're turning it to the left. Now when you do this, make sure you have like a bucket or something, a little container to catch some of the water. And hopefully you got all the water out of the tank as well. And this is why you want to do that, because now you're disturbing that seal. So see, I have some water. There's not much, just a little bit of water that dripped down. It's getting caught in that bucket. Sorry guys, I'm trying to do this while holding the camera. It's kind of tough. So you're just getting that loose. So once you've got that loose, and see, some water is actually running down, and I'm going to catch it there in the bucket. It's running down the supply line. So, it's very little. If you got all the water out of the tank, you should be good to go. So now I've got both bolts, both bolts are exposed and the nuts and the washers are off on both sides. So now it's time to just lift the toilet straight up and put it on something out of your way. In my case, like I said, I'm gonna have to back up a little bit because I've got such a small, I can't sit it beside where the toilet is. I'm gonna have to back up a little bit and set it probably right here. So for me, I'm gonna use probably that cardboard. You're gonna have wax from that seal on the bottom, the underside of the toilet, where it meets the flange, and you do not want that on your floor because it's just gross. So I'm gonna put some cardboard down. Okay, see, so I just put the open box from my vinyl plank there, and it's gonna be wide enough. I'll be able to set that toilet right on it. So I'm gonna lift straight up and then back up a little bit, kind of straddling it, back up and sit it on this cardboard. So I'll put the camera, so maybe you can, I'll put it on the tripod so you can maybe watch me do this. You're just gonna be looking at my back, but you'll get to see how you want to go straight up, because remember those bolts are kind of long. You got to clear those before you move it forward. We're going to lift it straight up and then sit it on the cardboard. So I'm just going to kind of get my hair out of the way. I'm rolling up my sleeves a little bit so nothing's in my way, because this is heavy. You're going to need to muscle it a little bit. And I probably should, my hair is going to be annoying. Let's see if I do that. That's going to help. Okay, here we go. You're just going to kind of straddle it and lift. And once you lift, make sure you clear those bolts and kind of go off backwards. I think I moved it. Okay, we have water, a little bit of water, probably. It's not a lot of water, so we're good, but I do need a towel. Wow, to me it seems like that wax ring was barely squished down. Like, I'll show it to you, but to me it looks like they didn't, I don't know, maybe it's the style of the toilet or something. It doesn't look like the wax ring has been squished down much, but maybe that's just how. So now I can scoot the toilet out of the way. Okay, so this is what it looks like, guys. The space where the toilet was. I'm gonna see if I can, it's just out of the way. I'm working in a little space. It's hard to work in a small space like this. But anyway, I kind of wiped up a little bit with the towel. Whatever towel you use, you're going to want to get rid of it. It's going to go in the trash when you're done. You don't want to save it. I don't know. I don't want to save it. This is the wax ring that we have left over. To me, it looks like they were using spacers. And I don't think that wax ring got squished down enough, so I don't know. That's just me. It kind of looks like it was staining the grout a little bit. I don't know. That's probably just because, I don't know. It could have been. I'm just thinking whoever installed this, they probably should have squished that down a little bit more. Those bolts weren't very tight. I know they're not supposed to be super tight, but it didn't look very tight to me. Okay, so I'm going to take my painter's tool and scrape that wax off the toilet flange. And I'm just going to use this, I have a box from my Chewy delivery for Sadie's heartworm meds. Right here, it's just a small box. I got it handy, so I'm just going to use this. So what you're doing is, oh yeah, the wax is really sticky and goopy. So you're just gonna, looks like we have a spacer in there too. So we need to just get this wax off. And get it off that flange. They leave something in there that they shouldn't have left in there. I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. Okay, so I'm lifting the wax and I'm just gonna try to not make a huge mess here. I'm holding the camera. This is really hard when I'm holding the camera. Okay. All right, and that's gonna go in the box. And I'm gonna keep working on this wax. We're just gonna lift it up. There we go. So this can just all go out in the trash. There we go. Pretty gross. There we go. Like I said, this painter's tool, you can use it for, we'll obviously sanitize it. Wash it off really well and sanitize it. We're done here. But yeah, so then you just want to kind of, I mean, try not to let it go down in the hole. But clean all your wax off there, or at least most of it. You can always do some of this later, but the key is we need to plug this hole with something that you don't care about. And I'm going to use that rag because it's going to go in the garbage when I'm done with it. So there we go. We got it, all the wax up. So now I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to stuff it in that hole. Because what we want to do is block the gases that could be coming up from that sewer pipe. You don't want that. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to clean this area up. The box is going out to the garbage. And I'm going to clean this area where the toilet was sitting, sanitize it, wipe it down, and then sanitize it with some Lysol. So we've got a clean space to be working in and moving around in and touching.